Hello everybody, welcome to GIS Pathshala Social Science grade 9 History Chapter 2 Socialism in Europe and Russian Revolution. See, as we have seen, encouraged by the socialist revolutionaries, peasants seized the land between July and September 1917. See, after that, what happened in October? That we are going to see October Revolution. 16 October 1917, Lenin persuaded the Petrograd Soviet and Bolshevik Party to agree to a socialist seizure of power. A military revolutionary committee was appointed by the Soviet organized seizures. Uprising began on 24th October. Prime Minister Kerensky left the city to summon troops. Kerensky left the city to summon troops. See, the Lenin in the photo is given of the minister. Now, military men loyal to the government seized the buildings of two Bolshevik newspapers. Pro-government troops were sent to take over the telephone and telegraph offices to protect the Winter Palace. In response, see, this happens in response. What happened? Military Revolutionary Committee ordered to seize government offices and arrest the minister. The Aurora ship sailed the Winter Palace. Other ship took over Strategy's Point. See what happened. The Military Revolutionary Committee orders in the supporters of the seize government offices and arrest minister. In later the day, the ship Aurora sailed the Winter Palace. Other vessels sailed down the Neva and took over various military points. From other way, the other vessels sailed and they overtook the various things. All Russian Congress, Soviet, Petrograd approved the Bolshevik action. See, this is the Aurora ship, Winter Palace, St. Petersburg Church. Heavy fighting in Moscow by December, the Bolshevik controlled Moscow Petrograd area. Now what happened? Other vessels sailed down the Neva and took over various military points. By nightfall, the city was under the committee's control and the minister had surrendered. At a meeting of all the Russian Congress of Soviet Petrograd, the majority approved by the Bolshevik actions. The people involved were Lenin, the Bolshevik troops, and all Russian Congress of the Soviet Petrograd, the majority approved the Bolshevik action. Uprising took place in the other cities. There was heavy fighting, especially in Moscow, but by December, the Bolshevik controlled the Moscow Petrograd area. See, heavy fighting was there in which place? Moscow. But what happened? Maximum things were under the control of Bolshevik. Now, what was the effect? What changed? Most industry and banks were nationalized in November 1970. See, most industries and banks were nationalized in November 1917. The land was declared social property and peasants were allowed to seize the land of the nobility. Use of all aristocratic title was banned. So, aristocratic title was sir and madam and these titles were the titles were banned. To arrest the change, new uniforms were designed for the army official. See, new uniforms were designed for the army official. Russia became a one-party state. Trade unions were kept under party control. A process of centralized planning was introduced. This led to economic growth. See, this type of uniform was declared and this was selected. French hat. They bended the titles of aristocracy to arrest the new that they did the different things. And the economic growth was possible. Industrial production increased and extended schooling system developed. See, these are the effects. Collectivization of farms started. Now the civil war was there. After that, what happened? The civil war was there. Many young writers and artists railed to the party because it stood socialism and for the change after October 1917. This led to experiment in the arts and architecture also, but many became disillusioned because of the censorship the party encouraged. See, the artists and writers also participated in that. After that, what happened? Civil war started. When the Bolshevik ordered land redistribution, the Russian army began to break up. Non-Bolshevik socialists, liberals, and supporters of autocracy demanded the Bolshevik uprising. Non-Bolshevik socialists, liberals, and supporters of autocracy condemned the Bolshevik uprising. They formed their troops and were called Greens. See, they formed their troops and were called Greens, which would fight against the Bolshevik raid. See, one troop was ready, and they were fighting against the Bolshevik raid. The pro-Whites controlled most of the Russian Empire. They were supported by French, American, British, and Japanese troops. All these fought a war with the Bolshevik. All these fought a war with the Bolsheviks. They all together fought a war with Bolsheviks. The Bolsheviks kept industries and banks nationalized during the Civil War. A process of centralized planning was introduced. Rapid construction and industrialization started. An extended schooling system also developed. Stalling now, after that, the stalling and collective farming. See what happened, before that what happened? The party to remedy this was most Russian nationalities were giving political autonomy in the Soviet Union. The state the Bolshevik created from Russian Empire in December, but since this was combined with unpopular policies that Bolsheviks forced the local government to follow, were only party successful. Like the harsh discouragement of nomadism, attempts to win over different nationalities were only partly successful, but many things were not successful, but some of the good things were there. Now, Stalin and collective farming. Now we will see the Stalin and collective farming. Stalin believed that the rich peasants and traders stocked supplied to create the shortage of grains. Stalin believed that rich peasants and traders stocked supplies to create a shortage of grains. Hence, collectivization was the need of the hour. This system would be help to modernize farm. Who resisted collectivization were punished, then deported, exiled. What followed was Stalin collectivization program. From 1929, the party forced the peasants to cultivate in collective farms. The bulk of land and implements were transferred to the ownership of collective farms. Peasants work on the land and the profit was shared. Enraged peasants resisted the authorities and destroyed the livestock. Between 1929 and 1931, the number of cattle fell by one-third. Those who resisted collectivization were severely punished. Many were deported and exiled as they resisted collectivization. Peasants argued that they were not rich and they were not against socialism. They merely did not want to work in collective farms for the variety of reasons. Stalin's government allowed some independent cultivation but treated such cultivators unsympathetically. In spite of collectivization, production did not increase immediately. In fact, the bad harvest of 1930-33 led to one of the most devastating famine in Soviet history when over 4 million people died. See, this type of things, even some of the peasants told that we don't want to do this type of farming. They were not allowed. Some were allowed for the independent cultivation, but they were treated as unsympathetically. And after that, what happened in 1930-33? The severe famine was there and 4 million people died. Now, global influence, such type of things happen. Many of the things after that, what happened? Many with the party criticized the confusion of an industrial production under planned economy and consequences of collectivization. Stalin and his sympathizers charged those cities with conspiracy, conspiracy against socialism. Some are, some of them are criticizing. So Stalin and they were saying that they were the against the socialism. Auctions were made throughout the country. By 1939, over 2 million were in prisons and or labor camps. Most were innocent of the crimes, but no one spoke for them. A large number were forced to make false confessions under torture and were executed. Several among them were talented professionals. See, professionals were there always, but they are criticizing. As soon as they are criticizing, they were counted as the and they were taken in the prison. In 1950, it was recognized in the country and outside that everything was not keeping with the ideal of Russian Revolution. Though its industries and agriculture had developed and the poor were being fed, the essential freedom of its citizens was being denied. However, it was recognized that social ideas still enjoyed respect among the Russians, but in each country the ideas of socialism were rethought in a variety of different ways. See, socialism is there, but in each country the ideas of socialism were rethought in a variety of different ways. Idea of socialism was in a different way, but each country the idea of socialism were rethought in variety of different ways. In 1950 was acknowledged within the country that the style of government in USSR was not keeping with the ideas of the Russian Revolution. In the world socialist movement too, it was recognized that all was not well in the Soviet Union. A backward country had become a great power. Its industrials and agriculture had developed, and the poor were being fed. But it had denied the essential freedoms to the citizen and carried out its developmental projects through respective policies. By the end of 20th century, the international receptions of the USSR as a socialist country had declined. Through it was recognized that the socialist ideas still enjoyed respect among people. But in each country, the ideas of socialism were rethought in a variety of different ways. Okay, socialism is not worst, but the ideas were different on one thing only. Socialism, where one country cannot depend. Mind and thinking of people were different. They were thinking in different ways. Sometimes some things are advantageous and sometimes the benefits are not proper. It was harmful for all the citizens, not proper for all the citizens. So the ideas of socialism were rethought in a variety of different ways. Thank you.